And we are live.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I guess we can start straight away, and we'll see if more people join us along. We wanted to set up a monthly call, so there's going to be some. Oh, we're live now. Oh.
What's up?
What happened?
He's playing me back, apparently.
Oh, you need to mute your YouTube.
Is that okay?
Only you heard that, so it's okay.
Oh, sorry. I was hearing myself. Okay. It's muted now. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. So we decided to set up a monthly call now to reach out a little bit to the community, talk to our users in maybe a little more interactive fashion. We know we have a lot of discussions over Telegram. We get questions again and again that thought we might better address through a regular call. So we intend to do this every last Thursday of the month to kind of sum up the progress we made over the month and give you a heads up of what's coming and what to look out for. So we'll be doing this over Jitsi, which we self-host, and it's streamed on YouTube. So if everybody's joining on YouTube, if you want to ask questions there, feel free to do so. We'll make sure we try to answer it to as many questions as we can, and keep this as interactive as possible. Oh, there it goes. Cheers, Matt.
Cheers.
So yeah, we'll be looking for a lot of feedback too on what we have in store, in feedback from our users on how they're doing with their nodl, how they're using it, what they might want. And I think what's really interesting in Keto, we'll dig into that a little more, is the thought process behind how the nodls are set up, and why we make certain decisions. Because there's a lot more thought process than you might think. So feel free to interrupt anytime, and let's keep this fast paced, I guess. So what we have in store today for the first call is we'll go over the box a little bit. So that's the hardware nodes that everybody knows us for. We'll give a little software update. We'll talk about shipping and delivery for anybody who's ordered a nodl if they're curious to see where we're at in the shipping and deliveries. And then we'll have a big chunk of the discussion around the cloud, because we're really excited to be coming out with a nodl cloud. And Keto will explain how it's going to work. We'll tell you about what we have coming to our store really, really soon. That's going to be interesting to all the nodl one users. And then we'll probably end up with a few more news. So as of today, for the hardware nodes, we have three different devices. We have what we refer to as the nodl OG. Is the first one really that we sold. And there's two versions of that. There's people who run a 500 gigabyte version that might have questions these days around hitting their storage limits. And there's people running a 1 terabyte version. So we suggest people to upgrade their storage. There's a video that came out where Keto shows everybody how to do it. It's really easy. But if anyone has questions about that, we can touch on that a little bit. And then there's nodl 1, which is the main current device that's in store right now that has the 1 terabyte SSD, an optional kill switch, and Samurai support. What's interesting for our users right now is that at first only nodl Dojo was encrypted, and now nodl 1 users can have access to that. And so nodl Dojo is the last device that we were selling for a while until it ran out because it was fairly or very successful, let's say, which is a partner with the good guys at Samurai Wallet. And that device has 2 1 terabyte SSDs configured in RAID, the kill switch, and specific Samurai support for Dojo, Whirlpool, etc. So just one little word on the hard nodes. The nodl OG owners that have bought their nodes maybe 2 years ago are reaching basically end of warranty after 2 years. That obviously depends on when you bought yours. So, you do the math, but there's no end of life that's planned. And obviously support continues, and we do that every day on Telegram. So, no issues there. Maybe Keto, do you want to run through the updates on the software?
Yeah. So thank you for this intro. About the nodl software update.
On mute.
Am I muted?
Yeah. Okay.
No, not supposed to be.
You're not muted. We hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you now.
So yeah, the last update, which was like 2 weeks ago now, was a security update, mostly because of the LND vulnerability. It was supposed to be part of a bigger update with more features, but we decided to push only the LND update and use this opportunity to push Dojo 1.8, which was ready on our site. So current versions for nodl 1 and Dojo are 0.11f, and for OG are 0.11a. The huge gap in letters is mostly because the cosmetic changes in the UI were not backported to OG yet. And I will come to that later. It's actually a very hard work in progress to merge all the code bases and have only one code base that runs on all the devices. So we have what I call feature update. Basically, when the number increases is when there is something new happening, or a new piece of software, or some new features or configuration options in the UI. And when the letter increases is only an incremental version update of one or several components. So 0.12 is planned for next week. It will include mainly more configuration for Bitcoin Core, because more and more people are running things like Spectre Wallet and other things requiring RPC connection. And currently, Bitcoin Core is configured only to accept local host connections and Tor. So we want to allow users to connect from remote hosts on their home network or through a VPN. And also, something which I added to that just today is the mempool size limit, just because of the state of the mempool today. We are using the default Bitcoin Core configuration, which is probably 300 megs right now, which is higher than Raspberry Blitz, for example. They have it down to 64 megs. But some users wanted to increase up to 500 to be sure to not drop out transactions with low fees, or to continue relaying them. The code cleanup, there is a lot of spaghetti code in nodl, and the code cleanup continues, and the merging of the code bases continues as well. I estimate the current state to be like 80% common between OG and newer versions. My goal is to be maybe at 90% by the end of the year, and to reach 100% at the beginning of 2021. And since we had to release nodl Cloud, which is based on Intel-based platforms, we had to split the code base as well, so we will have to merge that back and just add some conditions to use the correct package for the correct platform instead of having different code bases to maintain. This is how it looks on a very simplified graph. We have the original nodl OG code base, then we forked off the nodl Dojo 1 code base. At the same time, we created nodl Dojo 1 Bootstrap. I will come back later to what that means. And from nodl Dojo 1, we forked nodl Cloud and nodl Cloud Bootstrap. So the Bootstrap part will continue to remain independent and non-existent on the OG. And the other code bases should be merged and become only one branch in a few months. So the long-term vision for Bootstrap, Bootstrap was created because in the new devices we are booting on an eMMC module, and this module allows you to enter the password to decrypt your main storage, which is the 1 or 2 SSDs, depending on the model you have. In the future, I see Bootstrap as becoming a loader/installer for the nodl. Basically, if you have only this eMMC module or a boot partition when it's a cloud platform, with this small piece of software, you will be able to install the whole nodl software in one click. And that will be very helpful for us internally for installing and deploying the boxes and servers. And also simplify some maintenance tasks such as upgrades and other routine tasks like changing encryption passwords and so on. And that will also prepare for long-term hardware evolutions, because we are already thinking about what nodl 2 could be after nodl 1. And we are not excluding moving to some platform which will have some improved memory encryption capabilities. And we'll also still have disk encryption, so we need to have like this piece of hardware-specific software that will be loading the hardware-independent software in a second stage. About the documentation, as everybody knows, we are lacking a lot. The current website docs.nodl.it applies only to nodl OG. There are very few things that can be used for the newer devices and cloud, but it's very small. We actually started porting that to ViewPress, which is the same system used by BTC Pay Server, for example, which is Git-based. It's very simple markdown files with a few JSON files for like the directory of the documentation. We still have about 15 pages to redo in the new system, and then we'll be able to deploy the new documentation in place of the old one. What is important is that each article will be tagged with the models to which it applies. So before you start reading the article, you will know if it applies to you or not. And we'll put some small pictures of the devices, because people confuse the 1 and the OG, for example. So we'll just put some pictures of the devices so they can be recognized very easily at the beginning of the article. And also, this will start using continuous integration for deploying the documentation. So as soon as some merge request will be merged into master, it will be deployed automatically on the docs website. So that should make the documentation process much faster. And some users already propose to contribute as well, so they will be able to do it very, very easily. About the current shipping status, we almost cleared all the orders we had for the nodl 1. We have just a few left, which are just in front of me, to ship. They will ship between actually today and Monday. We still have 2 pre-COVID orders for nodl Dojo to ship because we had some problems with supply chain, and these ones should ship end of next week. And we have some early private pre-orders without an estimated shipping date for the nodl Dojo. It's a link we gave to a few people. These should be, probably most of them should be shipping in the coming 2 or 3 weeks as well. And we got one very custom order. I mentioned on Twitter like that we can build custom or external or internals for an order, and we had one order like this right now. So this one will be shipped on Monday as well. Let's switch to the cloud, unless someone wants to ask some questions already.
Keto, you mentioned people wanting to increase their mempool size. We have the default right now is at 300 megs, right?
That's what someone said on Twitter. I didn't verify that, but apparently that's the default in core. Yeah,
it is the default in core, and I guess we just hit the point yesterday where 1 sat per bytes were getting dropped if you had the default. So there was like kind of a community response to increase that. That is stored in RAM, not on the SSDs, correct?
Yes, that is in RAM unless you stop Bitcoin D. When you stop it, it stores it to disks.
So I mean, that's a consideration that users should make. I don't know how much overhead do we have? How much spare room do we have on some of these devices?
On the nodl, we don't have any issues. We have 4 gigs of RAM, and there are probably 2 gigs actively used. So yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about increasing it to 500. I would probably not go past 500, but that depends what other services you are running anyway.
You think you're going to change the default, or you're just going? I mean, any user can just change the configuration file themselves.
Yeah, they could, but every time you upgrade the nodl software, it overrides all the changes made manually. So that's why I want to include it in the UI. And yeah, probably like limit it to some reasonable value compared to the RAM. I will look how far we can go. But I think 500-600 is probably the max.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Also, I see 3 questions on YouTube. Let's address that right now. So first one is, what does the kill switch do? The kill switch turns off the device when someone tries to open the case. Since we have encrypted storage, this storage, of course, is like a hot wallet. It's hot when the device is on and is decrypted. So you would not like someone to try to open your device and extract the keys when it's running. That's why the kill switch shuts down the device if you try to open it physically. It's pretty overkill because anyway, how the device is built is very hard to access the RAM, and it's not a RAM module like in a PC, so it's very hard to freeze, remove, and read in another device. But I guess it's a nice to have, and other users, future users, such as using the CK bunker with a cold card, might be better if you have the kill switch, because it will also turn off any USB devices connected to the nodl. Second question is, can we still order nodl? Yes, you can order the nodl 1 with or without kill switch and with or without Samurai support. We have some. They can be shipped like in a period of 1 to 2 weeks maximum, but it's closer to 1 week right now. And do they run quiet? So we just announced on Twitter a few days ago that we actually removed the fan, which was already very quiet, because it was very small and didn't actually improve the airflow in the device. It has many holes on every side, so the airflow is pretty good. And I actually keep mine in a very closed place and never had any crash related to temperature. Another question is, are Lightning channel backups working on nodl 1 yet? No, that's actually harder than expected for many reasons. One was waiting for a piece of code made by someone else, and that's finally done. So we will integrate that probably in 0.1.3.
Hey, just maybe one added thing on the kill switch, because I heard a mention on our favorite podcast that was your idea. It's actually implementation, but the idea was originally from Rodolfo. So maybe we can correct that here. It's actually NVK who suggested that to Keto at Baltic Honey Badger last year.
Yeah, totally. We were having like an open discussion of how we could improve overall the device, and he said like he mentioned some prototypes he made of secure servers with kill switches and stuff, and I said, oh yeah, wait, we could add that very easily to our boxes. So yeah. Okay, let's switch to the cloud. And why is this different from other people? So we are starting to see cloud providers offering different Bitcoin-related services. Lunanode was probably the most famous one because of the integration of the easy BTC Pay server install. The main difference between us and others are that we know of running on third-party cloud and service providers. For what we know right now is one at least runs on AWS, and another one, which is Lunanode, uses cheap VPSs from OVH. And that means they basically rely on third-party network, third-party hardware. The redundancy, security, and backups are pretty much unknown or non-existent. And also it means that the hardware is accessible by third parties with many, many employees. And the admins of the physical servers are also many, many employees of the same companies. So the main difference is that we own 100% of our networks. I will explain the S later. And 100% of our compute resources, which are the actual servers on which the service runs. We do that through proxy companies for several reasons. One is staying under the radar. Second one is we want to have at least one company in every jurisdiction we are present for legal isolation reasons. There is no capitalistic link between these companies. So if for any reason one falls down, it will not compromise the overall service. The nodl cloud service covers everything from a shared BTC Pay server account to providing physical infrastructure like rack space and connectivity to other Bitcoin projects. We have already a few hosted on our platform. And of course, the flagship product is the same software you get on another box, but in a virtual server. We are trying to do our best. Security is a process. I will never say that something is secure because that's BS. But we are trying to do our best to put on some unusual security measures to cheat the enemy and make it harder than others to hack and to find. And we also, since we own infrastructure in several countries, we can propose some advanced backup options and redundancy between several sites and even between several countries. And one thing we can also do is, for example, if you want some HSM-based solution, we can host the HSM in a separate location of the servers. So you can have your keys in one country and your data in another country. The main focus, as I said, the flagship product is nodl Cloud. Same software, same UI as in the box, hosted on our servers. There is a picture of one on the right. We use commodity hardware, nothing fancy. And we have infrastructure deployed in France and Switzerland. In Switzerland, we have colocation hosting for our customers and networking. In France, we have networking and compute nodes. Germany was planned for this summer and delayed for obvious reasons, and now it became impossible for us to go to Germany at all. So we might open a third location in Zurich to have a triangle between 3 different locations for the network part. This is a very high-level view of the nodl cloud architecture. So you see the interwebs are everywhere around. That's third-party ISPs. That's how you will connect to our infrastructure. And then ideally, everything starts from a triangle of network POPs. So red lines are public internet. Green lines are private links. Private links can be anything from a leased dark fiber, which means that we own and light the fiber directly from our equipment. No one else has access inside this fiber. It can also be just a wave leased inside the fiber shared with other people. In any case, in both situations, that's totally private and you need to physically cut the fiber to intercept the traffic. But even that can be mitigated with MAC level encryption. We don't have that yet, but that's definitely something we are looking into for the upgrade of our infrastructure. Then we have 2 types of compute points of presence. When you see POP, it's point of presence. On-net compute means it's a place when we have servers which are directly connected to our network through a private link. And off-net compute is when we have a location which is connected to our network through a VPN. Typically, it will be IPsec VPN. Why we do that is only for easier and faster expandability, because when we to lease a rack space is very expensive right now because of electricity costs mostly. So to get cheaper rack space, sometimes we can rent rack space in a place we can't bring our own network, and we rely on a public internet connection. And in this case, we connect that to our main network through a VPN. So yeah, another thing that the network POPs provide, it's not only pure networking, we also have some reverse proxies in these places, and they provide TCP and HTTPS termination. 2 reasons for that. One is the same as any content delivery network does, is for speed for the end users of your service. For example, if you host a BTC Pay server or a WooCommerce website on our platform, you want the end users to have a feeling of a fast service. And the closer you finish the TCP and HTTPS connections, the closer the faster the service will appear to be, even if the servers are not exactly in the same place. Then on these reverse proxies, we can implement some security like rate limiting, firewalling, and optional web application firewall to clean the traffic before it reaches the real servers. For 2 reasons: that keeps the bandwidth down, and also we don't need that much connectivity on the compute side because we clean the traffic and we stop some kinds of attacks on the network side. And it's also the frontier between the internet, which is public space addressing, and our private addressing. When I say private addressing, is not like 192.168. It's still publicly addressable internet, mostly on IPv6 ranges. But we are free to do whatever we want inside this addressing because it's our own routing, internal routing. We can really do whatever we want. And it's not, these parts of the network are not announced on the internet, so they are not reachable from the internet. That may sound strange, but it's actually a very good way to protect against some kinds of attacks. And last thing, we can provide optional VPN dial-in for users, which means that if you don't want your nodl cloud UI, admin UI to be accessible from the internet, we can just completely close access to it, and you will have to dial into a VPN first before you can access your nodl admin UI. The compute points of presence provides the actual servers running the service, are only addressed privately, non-reachable from the internet, can be replicated between multiple locations. And we are working on, so today we are using Intel-based servers, but we are looking into 2 different directions to improve that, because so as I said before, the people who are admins on AWS or other services can access your data if they are root on the physical server. It's the same for us, except we are us, so you're supposed to trust us a little more than you would trust AWS. But anyway, we want to be as trustless as possible, and the latest processors from AMD propose encryption for the memory of each virtual machines with keys that are managed in the hardware, and we don't have access to these keys. They are very expensive, so that will not come soon, but it's something we want to propose to our users as soon as we can. And another option we are looking into is using small ARM-based physical servers for services. Probably not for the full nodl cloud node, but for some smaller services, because they are not as powerful as the nodl box. This is a picture I took today in a data center. It's the first node of the first pool of nodl cloud. It was installed just today. First customers will be deployed next week. We have a wait list already. We'll be deploying them as fast as we can, but yeah, expect some. I mean, when you will log into the nodl.cloud website, you will see like how many are left, and yeah, if you FOMO, you can just speed up your order. The introductory price for the nodl box equivalent service, so that's for one location, no geographic redundancy, is $49 per month or $490 per year, which is about the price of the full options nodl one, if I remember correctly. There will be some promo codes very soon, so watch out on Twitter and other places if you want one. Next steps, I already mentioned that. Basically, it's to deploy more nodes, more physical servers, and work on alternative hardware. We are also working with the same person who designed the nodl box physical case on designing rack-mounted servers with custom hardware inside. It might be anything from 100 ARM nodes in one rack to, for example, 28 nodes and 28 cold cards if you want to run CK Bunker in a secure physical location. And of course, if someone wants to buy these servers and use them in their own infrastructure, they will be free to do so. So that's it for nodl cloud. If you have any questions.
From a user perspective, it's strictly cheaper and more secure for them to run a nodl on hardware they control in their own home or office if they're able to do that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think still for anyone who can run it at home, it's always better to run it at home. The main question answered by nodl cloud is people who bought a box just to run BTC Pay server for their website, and I would not advise to open your BTC Pay server from your home IP address to the internet. But that's another service that nodl cloud will provide. We will provide like reverse proxy with a tunnel to your BTC Pay server. We are using OpenVPN. We are not doing that with IP2Tor because I mean, IP2Tor is a very nice service, but if you want any performance and reliability, you need a UDP-based VPN.
Yeah, so just to be clear here, IP2Tor is what Raspberry Blitz is using, and the reason for both implementations is because if you expose one of these services from a home node or an office node, then you're exposing your IP address to the world, which has some privacy and security implications. So basically, like a TLDR is, if you can run it from home, if you have, or an office and you have the internet capability, do that. But if you can't, you have nodl cloud. And for some users, they're going to want to use the combination. They're going to have the nodl at home or office, and it's going to tunnel through nodl cloud.
Yeah, and also, for example, if you can afford it and if you want to run 2 different nodes, you could have nodl cloud set up as a watchtower for your home node, and vice versa.
Cool.
Well.
Thank you.
Someone is
And
asking,
we see some demand on people wanting to have an always-on device when they're not at home, and there's actually more customers than we think that travel quite a bit and don't necessarily have physical access to their own home node, and they actually need something to be maintained for them.
Yeah, I mean, I just had this happen to me, where I didn't have I was traveling, and those 2 LND vulnerabilities got disclosed, and they were like, "You have a week," and I'm like rushing back home.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we need to make it very clear what the differences are. But I think people who get it might eventually use their own hardware node for their personal private stuff, and maybe have something else running on a cloud for less important business, but that they absolutely want online 100% of the time.
so a few questions from YouTube. I see, how do you manage credentials like macaroons, passwords, TLS? That's the same as on the box. So macaroons, TLS certs, and everything are auto-generated by LND, because that's, I guess, an LND question. Anything else like initial passwords, we generate them and we send them to you over a PGP encrypted email. If you don't provide a PGP key, you have to log into your nodl cloud customer account, and there is an encrypted messaging system, the same as on Host4Coins actually there. So yeah, no password travels unencrypted ever. Okay, I have 2 more small items to cover, and then we can have an open discussion if anyone still has any questions. So, new in store for the users who ordered the nodl one without the kill switch or before we proposed the kill switch on the nodl one, we will be selling those as an add-on. It's the first, I hope, of a long list of add-ons we'll be proposing for our boxes. Of course, here you see the bare board, but it will be soldered for you, and it will come with detailed instructions on how to assemble it, and some padding, because sometimes the switch is a little too far from the case and you need to add some padding inside the case to make it click well. This also means that at some point, the devices that were shipped without disk encryption will be able to get it. That will require a lot of testing. I don't see this happening before at least 6 months, because if any interruption happens during the encryption process, your data is lost. So we don't want that. And we need to make it as foolproof as possible. But yeah, the device is capable of disk encryption. The partitions were sized in a way, because when you use the LUKS encryption, you need to reserve some space for the encryption keys. And actually in the nodl one, the partitions are designed so it's possible to add these encryption keys and move the partitions around. And also, yeah, so that's mainly the thing. Probably what might happen is some kind of backup, encrypt, restore procedure to be more reliable than just encrypt in place. But yeah, we'll probably try to propose both. But yeah, it's I mean, if anything bad happens in the middle, your data is completely lost. So we don't want to rush that. And last but not least, we are happy to announce that the nodl Dojo is back in store. I mean, it will be after this call. We will reactivate the item in the store. We will start taking orders again today. But the delivery is aimed for holiday season or early next year. That's because we have to order in bulk some components from China, and they have to get manufactured after we order them. We will order them right now. It takes about a month to make them. Then we have to ship them to us. We have to test them, assemble everything, and then we'll be able to keep shipping the nodl Dojo. And this time we don't see any like constraints for further quantity and availability, so they should be shipping continuously without any delays.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's another pandemic.
Yeah, basically,
Yes.
they're building for us a large amount of units.
We'll have enough to go through the next pandemic, I guess.
Wow, I love it. Pandemic prepared. I just want to say I love the nodl Dojo. Best pre-built node on the market.
What are you drinking?
What am I drinking?
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Octan Toshin 3-wood single malt Scotch whiskey. It's fucking delicious.
Nice. Okay, so that's all we have for you. If anybody wants to continue the discussion, we can do it right now, or you can just come on Telegram, Keybase, or email.
I do have a question, actually a couple of them. Hi, guys.
Hey.
So my first question is, can nodl be used as a watchtower for simple Lightning nodes, and also taking into account that in RGB, for example, we have this concept of the Bifrost server, which is being under development, but it's going to be out there at some point. So, and one of the features of the Bifrost is to behave as a watchtower, sort of the same way that you have in Lightning. Can that be embedded into the nodl box?
Technically, I don't see why not. We don't have the watchtower feature enabled right now, but it's only a UI issue. It wasn't like actively asked by our users yet, so yeah, we didn't prioritize it.
Okay, cool. My next question is, can you create some sort of a mesh network with nodl boxes in the region, for example, especially to prevent the potential issue with firewalls and all, if it ever happens, taking into account all the bullshit happening around?
That's a very long-term research subject. But yes, it's something we are thinking about. It's like a background thinking process. First, we looked into using Gotenas with the nodl because Gotenas are cool and there is a lot of hype around them, but they are too expensive to our taste and too limited. So now we are rather looking into LoRa-based tech, and there are two ways we are looking into it. One is peer-to-peer meshed LoRa network between nodls if they are dense enough, to create a local payment or just chat or whatever network. And the other one is use the nodls as LoRaWAN proxies between the LoRa mesh and the internet. So any nodl can act as an entry or exit point for the LoRa network.
Okay, gotcha. Two more, if I may. Have you thought of some alternative supply chains for nodl details in case the China Silk Road one is cut off because all the COVID thingies, regulations, and all of that?
Yes, we would be able to do that. It's just a question of money, and it's pretty big money.
If you compare the cost, for example, of the nodl, which is present now, and the nodl, if the supply chain changes, what can be the possible ratio?
The cost would not necessarily be bigger. The problem is an upfront amount we need to put on just to start the production in another location. But basically, electronics are made by machines, if it's in China or in Europe or in the US, and it doesn't cost more to build an iPhone in the US or in Shenzhen. So yeah, the only problem is to bootstrap the manufacturing, and that costs a lot of money.
Okay, good. Last one. Can nodl kill switch be used as a wipeout key? For example, of course, if you have a proper backups and everything like that, can you use a nodl kill switch as an actual kill switch to your box? If someone comes around and you need to destroy basically the nodl and everything that has been happening there.
Well, no, it will not destroy the data. So assuming someone would be able to brute force the keys, they will still be able to.
Have you thought about the possibility of creating something like that?
The only reliable way to do that would be physical destruction. There is no software-based solution that would be fast enough to prevent someone from accessing at least a part of the data.
Okay, well, physical destruction is always fun.
To wipe the whole drive, it would take at least 2 hours.
But the encryption accomplishes the same purpose for all.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the encryption
right?
is flowed or backdoored or whatever.
Well, again, if we think about like physical attack on the owner of the nodl box, then probably at some point, if the person gets sort of brute forced, then he needs to probably have some way to destroy the box, but because he will be the point of attack, not the box.
Well, if we assume that the encryption is hard enough to not be breakable without the password which the owner knows, most of our users probably don't know their own password. So yeah.
Because the encryption password is chosen by the nodl team.
The initial one, yes, but we have a number of users that changed it, so that those ones might be weaker. I don't remember, but I think we use 32 characters passwords, which have a pretty good random generator behind them.
I mean, my answer would be that, I mean, the majority of your funds should be in a cold storage setup. That if that is part of your threat model, should take that into effect. But if as far as your always on node goes, you really shouldn't probably have that much funds connected to the internet to begin with, right?
Yeah, I mean, what is the risk here? The hot wallets are LND, Whirlpool, and when we will enable it, pay join in BTC Pay Server. Pay join in BTC Pay Server, you can mitigate by automatically withdrawing everything which comes through pay join, but you still need to keep some funds for the coin join to work. Whirlpool CLI requires 2 passwords to be unlocked. First one is your nodl encryption password. Second one is the Whirlpool wallet, the Samurai wallet password. So as long as we don't have the auto unlock feature for Whirlpool CLI, this one is safer than the other hot wallets. And then there is LND, and with the current state of LND, I would not advise anyone to put a lot of funds in it.
Very reassuring. I mean, because what I'm thinking of is like Cold Card has a brick me pin, and they also have, you know, if you 13 missed attempts on the pin, it just bricks the device, and that's kind of what she's talking about here. But that's what you use for colder storage for larger amounts, you know, and it's an acceptable risk for something like a nodl.
I'm thinking out loud, but we can't destroy all the data on the drives, but if you're familiar how disk encryption in Linux works, actually your password, of course, is not the key. It just unlocks the key which is stored on the drive. So we could always have some emergency procedure that would fuck up the keys on the drive. And then even if you have the password, you will not be able to decrypt anymore. And that can be very fast.
Okay, so do that for Dolores.
Yeah, that worked. Thanks.
Or like make it an option though.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just a special password or special button somewhere.
On that note, I have a question about the thoughts given to supply chain security, actually shipping the devices to people. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts there?
So we started with having a very nice nodl tape on the inner box. So for people who didn't buy one yet, the nodl comes in two boxes. There is like the external shipping brown box, and then there is the internal product box, which is a white box with the device and all the accessories. So initially, when we released the nodl one and Dojo, we were so proud that we made some custom tape from Sticker Mule, and this internal white box had a nodl tape on it, and the letter with the decryption and SSH passwords were inside of the box. We switched to neutral packaging, so now you get a white box with transparent tape inside, and the outer box is still brown. And so the customs declaration, depending on the place you live, it always says mini PC with metal enclosure, because we had many questions after X-rays of the package, like what the fuck is that? Because it looked like a big metal block. So now we put with metal enclosure in the description. And if you live in the US, we declare the full value because customs don't care if it's less than $4,000. If you live in Australia, Canada, or other countries who apply customs more strictly, we declare 100 euros. So you paid some amount of customs, but not the full amount you're supposed to. But yeah, externally, there is nothing telling that this device is a nodl. That assuming, of course, that no one at the customs office bought one and knows how the package looks like, because they all look the same. And the sender is a non-existent name and address somewhere in France.
If I recall correctly, didn't you mention something about, sending the encryption password separately from the device?
Yeah, so now what we are proposing is you can give us a PGP key and we will send it through an encrypted email instead of a paper in the box. And I won't disclose the number of orders we processed the last 6 months since we started proposing that, but only 2 people asked for a PGP encrypted email.
And would you want to explain to the listeners why that's an important safeguard?
So basically, if someone intercepts your package, they will get access to your encryption and SSH passwords. The SSH password is not a big deal because if someone has a physical access to the device, they can reset it anyway. But if they get access to the encryption key, and if you don't change it after you receive your device, it means, one, that if DHS comes to your home and takes your nodl, they have access to all your addresses because they can decrypt the drives and get. It's mainly a privacy issue, by the way. It's not. I mean, if you have a lot of funds on your nodl, of course, it's also a loss of funds. But here we are more thinking IRS and this kind of attacks. So yeah, they would have access to all your history of all the addresses you have in your Electrum and so on. And also, even if you change the encryption password, we can assume that if they opened the box and tampered with it, they could add a secondary key which you don't know of unless you're very familiar with LOX encryption and check it yourself. That, by the way, is something we could like self-check, not for self. That there is only one key. Yeah, but so far we had one case of a package that was obviously opened during transport. To the point that some items were missing inside.
Great, thanks. I mean, I have no further questions over here.
Do we have anything from YouTube?
I think we're good.
I have a question, but it's to you guys and probably to everyone who's present and who's listening. So while working on the Bifrost thing also, and while talking to you guys, I got to thinking if the feature of having a box, whether it's nodl or something, like having a watchtower only hardware would be of a great demand to the market. Maybe someone of you has had some feedback on that, or had some information on that. If people even want to know want to have that.
Hey guys, do you want me to weigh in here? So here from RTL.
Can you repeat that?
This is Suhaib from RTL. RTL is a web UI for Lightning node implementations. Just wanted to weigh in on that, your point about watchtowers.
Are you working with watchtowers only functionality,
No,
or it also has something else beneath?
No, the RTL is a UI which runs on top of LND and as well as C Lightning and Eclair. It just provides a UI to manage your node. So just wanted to make a point about watchtowers per se. So at this point, watchtowers are not are mainly running in altruistic mode, right? So there's no compensation mechanism for running watchtowers or no incentive. So until there is an incentive, right, there might not be interest, from people to run watchtowers, and we have not seen a lot of demand requesting watchtower type features for when they are running Lightning nodes. Just wanted to make that point.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, from our side, so far we were
also
asked only once about watchtowers, and that was you.
Yeah. It's just, for example, I'm not sure. I mean, yes, the traveling might be a bit tight in the following years, but still you leave your home, right? So you go out at some point and you still need all the processes be running, even if you're out, even if you leave your phone at home and everything like that, you still need to be online.
Yeah, I guess maybe rather than
well, I mean, in my head, maybe I have a bias, but maybe I have a bias or something. But in my head, I would probably feel more secure to know that my phone can eventually check the watchtower and that I have something that is still there online, even if I am not.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I'm not sure about the separate physical device just as a watchtower, because you need a place to put that device anyway.
Pretty good. How long did we have there? We had an hour, right?
Yeah, we have
Like
an
an
hour.
hour, yeah.
I was planning half an hour to 45 minutes, so that's a success.
But now we're live again.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up. I think what's really interesting is that we keep this happening often. The more we have these, the better, probably. And the more questions we have, maybe in advance or over time, we can answer. I think the better it is, and we want to try to make this help for everybody. So we want to do that every last Thursday of the month. So have one next November. And we can keep the conversations going on Telegram in between, but it's really nice when people join. A second thing maybe is, like, if anybody wants to contribute, and please reach out to us. There's a lot of stuff that we have in store that we have planned. So that this is also a way of helping out. Just reach out to us if you're interested.
Do you have any channels? I think you have GitLab instead of GitHub, right? And everything
GitLab.
like that. Do you have any points? Yeah, GitLab. Can you post some links somewhere on Twitter or on Telegram where people could know what it is that you need and where they can contribute to?
Sure. And we can send it to the Bitcoin Whiskey Club too.
Yes, please. Thank you.
I thought the first rule of the Bitcoin Whiskey Club is we do not talk about the Bitcoin Whiskey Club.
What Whiskey Club? All right. Okay.
Thank you very much, guys,
Anyhow,
for joining today. It was very nice for the first one, and we'll try to do better next.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for joining.
it was great.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.